Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm going to make this brief because we've all been sitting here for a long time, and I'm sure if you're like me, you're probably hungry. It's way past my bedtime. No, I'm kidding. Hi, thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, ICP, for having us. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Mitra and Brooke and the Hour Group. I'm Rachel. As my bio states, I was born in Berlin. I was born in Milan. I was raised in Berlin. I am neither Italian or German. I hold an American, Canadian, and Polish passport. My father came here on a boat from the Soviet Union in the 1950s. My mother was born in Canada to people who came from the Pale Settlement, or what was left of it. In Russia, essentially, I am nationless. And in this time of rising nationalism, I think about that a lot. And I think about the fact that for the last couple of years of my life, I've really thought of America. I've really thought of myself as a New Yorker, as an American, especially as somebody who's a Jew, who has a Holocaust lineage and ancestry, who grew up in Berlin with that historical awareness, which was not easy as a child to absorb and swallow and have be a part of my identity. So I think a lot about the fact that I don't have any allegiance or alliance to a country. When I moved here from Berlin as a teenager, I kind of could come out of the closet of being a Jew. Not that I was faced with so much anti-Semitism in Germany, but when you're blonde hair and blue-eyed and you speak German as a fluent language and your last name is German, and it comes out that you're a Jew as a child, there is palpable discomfort in the adults and the people around you. And as a child, that discomfort, I think becomes shame. And I think there are a lot of iterations of what I experience in people in this country, all over the world, that experience of realizing that your identity itself is transcended by a historical memory, and that historical memory has an impact on those living in the society that you share with them. And how do you kind of mediate who you are and what that means to you and what that means to the people around you and how they react to your identity? So that's all to say that I came to America and I suddenly, being a Jew in Europe is something very different from being a Jew in America. I don't know if anybody here has been a Jew in Europe, but it's a very different experience. You come to a place like New York City and things are kosher and they're like Jewish branded. There's like a whole Jewish aesthetic and there are Hasids everywhere and they're not, they are ghettoized, but they're not ghettoized in the way they are in Europe. And there's this whole new world for me. And I came here and suddenly I said, wow, yes. Oh my God, it was like coming to the new world, really. It was that experience. And it echoed the kind of parallel experience my father had growing up as a Jew, born to Holocaust survivors in Poland who couldn't get out in time and who were stuck in the Soviet Union living in Poland with horrible anti-Semitism and oppression and general miserable environment, and coming to America on this boat. And so this is all to say, I'm very lucky that America has existed in the way that it has, and I know this is the biggest cliche of all time to invoke at this moment, but I am a recipient of the American dream. My father came here on a boat. My grandparents were blue-collar workers. My grandmother worked in a fur factory. My grandfather worked in a printing factory. They lived in a one-bedroom apartment in subsidized low-income housing in the Bronx, the amalgamated houses. Of course, that demographic has changed hugely from the 50s to now. But, my dad went to Cooper Union because it was free. I got to grow up and live abroad and go to Harvard and decide to choose to be an artist, all because, in my opinion, he was granted this amazing access in America. So with all the cynicism that I think we are so burdened by in the last 3 months, watching really America crumble in a lot of ways, and things that we thought, tenets that we thought were so ironclad just fall apart, I think it's important for everybody to connect to something positive in this country. Because if you can't find something positive, there's nothing worth fighting for. And if there's nothing worth fighting for, there's no motivation. So I'm coming from a place of deep gratitude, for America, for the American dream, whatever that means in whatever way you want to take out of that. I still believe that there's a possibility that exists. I still believe that the life I'm privileged and lucky to live today is a result of that. So, without further ado, I'm not going to talk so much. I'm an artist. I make lots of different things. I liked how Katie put it. I make things in the studio. I make things with my hands. I make things with my brain. I perform with my body. I like to talk about things. I like to make books. But I'm here mostly to talk about my work with a group called Dear Ivanka, or the HALT Action Group, which there's a lot of confusion about. Some people think we're an Ivanka Trump advocacy group. We are not. I like to describe us as an Ivanka Trump watchdog group, because Ivanka Trump is perhaps the most sort of neatly packaged, hypocritical, insulting mockery of a person in this administration, to me, more than anyone else, especially because she presumes to be a feminist. She has coined the hashtag women who work. Of course, Ivanka Trump has an unlimited budget for nannies. I mean, I think she's got like 9 or something on her staff. But regardless, she's not somebody who, I think we can all agree, she's not someone who worked her way to be a woman who works, or in any way reflects women in the world who work. I mean, at all, in any fucking way. So, Ivanka Trump, the day after the election, or soon after the election, a group of people got together, led by Allison Gingeris, who's a very illustrious, amazing curator, Marilyn Minter, Bill Powers, a number of really great kind of peons of the New York City art world, which I know has its negative sides, but in this way I'm going to talk about them very positively. And we got together, and the thing that bothered everybody immediately after the election was that Ivanka and Jared Trump have quite a big art collection. And they don't collect art I'm going to show later that the right wing likes, which is psycho, weird art, social realism. They collect like Alex Katz and Dan Colin and like these really cool, super valued, super impressive male, mostly, artists from the New York City art world whose value skyrocketed in the last 15 years. And what I think bothers me, and I'm speaking for myself here, so much about that, is that someone like Ivanka Trump, who was always daddy's rich girl, growing up in New York City, going to private school, going to the clubs, being blonde and hot and being a model, she bought her way in to having cultural capital through buying that art. And that's a big problem with buying art, is that you can be a real asshole who has horrible morals, and you can have all the money in the world and buy art and put it up in your house, and people are like, oh my God, you've got such great taste. Wow, you must not be that bad. You like Alex Katz. So it's this really complicated thing. It's actually not that complicated, because it's like, no, you don't get to have that. So a lot of the artists who she's collected were pretty horrified by Trump at large and pretty shocked that he won. And so this is how Dear Ivanka was born, kind of out of seed, out of thinking about the fact that she collects art and whatnot. So we had this action outside of the Puck building, which Jared Kushner's family owns, and Jared and Ivanka own an apartment in the Puck building where they hold most of their collection. They have a big Alex Katz that they took down after our protest, which was in the lobby of that building, but their apartment there is a staged apartment that the Kushners show to people who buy like $20 million apartments. So we had these cards. Everyone could write Ivanka a letter, and we mailed them all to Ivanka Trump. This is what they looked like. Dear Ivanka, super cute and kitsch. These were what some of the cards looked like. You can get a sense. And then Rob Pruitt made these. Oh, there's a picture of me with a guy who said USA for Trump behind me. I was trying to be cute. Rob Pruitt made these amazing, huge Dear Ivanka signs that we carried around. Putin is using your dad. Here, sorry, it wasn't actually a protest. It was staged as a vigil. So we all had these like fake candles, and we silently marched around the Puck building, like mourning Ivanka's lost soul. I then made these posters of Ivanka Trump as a Russian icon to literally riff on that idea, like she's literally a Russian icon. They love her in Russia because she's blonde and rich and has no morals. Sorry. No, anyways, it was great. And then randomly, a picture of this was in the New York Times, like not even crediting me. And this academic contacted Dear Ivanka. I was like, who made that Russian icon image? Anyway, make a long story short, this image and an interview about it is now in like a book on Byzantium and its parallels in the 21st century. So there you go. There was a big Dear Ivanka sign we made. That's a Marilyn Minter one. If someone grabs my pussy, is it okay to fart on them? I thought that was great. So this leads me to the next section of what I want to talk about, which is humor and satire. And a funny thing with Dear Ivanka is trying to really make each other laugh as a group of artists, make the people around, bring people in through humor, because otherwise we're all going to dissolve into a puddle of despair, because these are trying times, and we have to keep each other afloat, not to say everything has to be happy-go-lucky, dandy, but there has to be some element of comedy, some element of satire. You know, SNL, I think, is a good example of how powerful that can be. So they're New York Times, we got some press. So a lot of the things we talked about in Dear Ivanka, in the inception of it, was sort of visual movements that had been really powerful in history. And of course, the ACT UP movement and Silence Equal Death, in my opinion, is probably the most powerful visual movement of the 20th century. And yeah, and obviously it was started by artists and largely pushed forward by artists. And so it's a good example. And then the other example I'd like to show is this is the fascist party headquarters in Milan in, I think, 1934, part of their C campaign, which means yes. And so the fascist mantra was like, yes, 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 basically don't question anything, don't say no to anything. And I just always go back to this picture because it is, you know, on either side of the coin, whether it's a side you agree with or not, visuals have immense power, and visuals can convey exactly what is behind them. So this very, I think, acutely conveys what fascism is all about. This is another action we did. So we do a lot of stuff on social media because it's, you know, social media was pretty terrible with fake news, and in a lot of ways, I think a lot of the complacency that people have felt before the election was in large part due to social media, because you could sit behind your computer screen and share a petition and sign a petition and share an article and comment on shit and get in fights with people behind your computer screen, and you felt like you were engaged, right? You felt like, yeah, I'm engaged, I know what's going on, I'm hearing what people have to say. And we all know that that was a fallacy and a lie. And however, social media now, I think, is a very, very useful tool for organizing and a very useful tool for getting movements, messages across in a, of course, now visual manner. So this is another one we did. This was supposed to be a video. This is actually a version of this is right outside. You can see it if you look at the new museum. A video that Marilyn Minter made that was for Dear Ivanka that was awesome with the voice of Trump behind it. Then on Inauguration Day, the day before inauguration, we had an action called Trump Moving. We made a packing list of what we wanted the Trumps to bring with us. Obviously, this is all tongue-in-cheek. We know the Trumps don't give a shit about what we have to say. They don't care what anybody has to say, but it's still edifying to think about what you want them to bring. So we had this whole packing list moving day thing, and then we asked people who were not a part of the core group of Dear Ivanka, just people to be involved, to bring boxes to Ivanka and Jared's house on the Upper East Side, where they actually live, of what they wanted Jared and Ivanka to bring with them to Washington, D.C. So we had awesome, I mean, people just made the beautiful, beautiful boxes. Bring creative freedom, how big are those tax returns, goodbye pre-existing traditions. There's Marilyn and Allison DeGeris. There I am with a life-size Ivanka Trump cutout that I like to bring to all the rallies. Just to remind everyone. Oh, and we made Trump moving hats by looking through, because Donald Trump has licensed so many absurd businesses. He even for 2 years had a moving business. So we found his moving logo that he licensed to and made hats out of him for the moving. And then we all got together. I don't have a photo of all the boxes, but we put all of this huge pile of boxes right outside so she could see it from her window. And we left it there. And the cops were actually, I think they were like so taken aback by how like crafty it was that they were really nice. And they were like, okay, you can leave these here. You know, like it was shocking. This is one that we're actually in the midst of doing. These are plaque stickers. I brought one for you guys to see. They look like this. They're this big. We're actually making real plaques out of molds and spray painted to look like real plaques. And we have been giving them out and encouraging people just to stick them on the side of buildings. They're highly, highly sticky. And so, of course, they say, if you can't read it, I did try and fuck her. She was married. I moved on her like a bitch, blah, 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 blah. Grab them by the pussy, you can do anything, the President of the United States of America. So just so that, you know, we want people to put these on buildings, on corners, on the floor, in the bathroom, anywhere you want to put this. I mean, I only have one, but we are going to start selling them. I only brought one because everybody wants them, so I have a very small, limited stash left. But we're going to start selling them. Everything we sell goes, all the money gets donated, but they're going to start being sold at Printed Matter, at the BAM museum shop. We're going to actually sell a real kit where you can, like a real one, you can drill into a building. But the idea behind this is obviously, don't let anybody forget. Do not forget that our president talked this way about women. Not that any of you have forgotten. Anyways, so we have that. Oh, and then we teamed up with Katsu, which is a sort of guerrilla, I don't know how to describe it, a guerrilla graffiti group. They do a lot of like the Supreme campaigns where they go out and they wheat paste like 10,000 posters around New York City. So we actually teamed up with them and paid all their wheat pasters. They did it for free, but we paid the labor to put these huge posters for Women's Day all around Midtown, like all around the banks, hedge funds, consultant groups, because those white women, those rich white women, they need to be reminded. So that was a pretty cool action. One that we did now, this was supposed to be a video, but it didn't work for me. But what we did now for Neil Gorsuch's confirmation, which sadly went through, is we produced these hangers that instead of saying we love our customers, say we love reproductive rights. On the back it says, Dear Ivanka. We're sending them to every member of Congress with a little note. Obviously, yeah, it's about abortion. We don't want to go back to the days where women are sticking hangers up their vaginas to get rid of babies, because that is what still happens in places like Bolivia or places like Colombia where abortion is illegal. I mean, this is very, very real in the world, and we are not so far away from this being another reality here again, which it once was. So that's the thing. Obviously, Women's March, you know, I think that the signs, I was so impacted by the signs I saw in the Women's March because I really suddenly felt like these are no longer signs, these are actually documents, artworks, archival objects from our moment in time that are super important and, yeah, beautiful objects. This is one of my favorite ones. The artist Ann Weathersby made this, I love it. Huge images of chastity belts. This is sort of a non sequitur, but I just wanted to include it because it's an important... So this is a comic that was run by Charlie Hebdo the week after they had their horrific terrorist attack that murdered many of their many of the members of their publication. And it says, it's an imam, a rabbi, and a priest with their legs up on a woman, and it says in the speech bubble, in the end, we can all agree on the essentials. And I just want to put that out there, that there are structures in religion that keep women oppressed, and there are structures in religion that keep gender oppressed, and those structures have transmuted and have been for many years a part of our political system. So that's just for everyone to get a kick out of. I quickly wanted to talk about, so I know I don't have that much time left, right? I have like 1 minute left? Okay, I'm going to say one last thing. Images are vehicles for history and for memory. Images allow you to see memory. Something I've thought a lot about in my life is I have no images of all the hundreds of members of my family who were murdered in the Holocaust. Those images don't exist. They were destroyed. They weren't rich enough to have photos. I don't know what those people looked like. I'll never know. I'll probably spend the rest of my life trying to find that out. I can, however, see images of the gas chambers. I can see images of the Wannsee Conference. I can see images of Hitler. I can see the New York Times Magazine in 1937 doing an article on Hitler, where Hitler dreams and plans. So normalization, images, the history of normalization, it's all around us. One last thing, Dr. Seuss talking about America First, 1940s. America First taking out an advertisement in the New York Times Magazine saying America should not get involved in World War II because America should focus on America. Some other very prescient stuff. Anyways, really, really quickly, this is just worth showing. This is the art that Trump and Bannon love. This is a guy named John McNaughton. When Trump won, Bannon gave him a bunch of paintings. The right wing loved this guy. I don't know if you can see these I don't know if anyone's aware of this guy and his art, but this is why it's really important to make art, because we have to counter this kind of stuff, because this is what they like, and it's important for us to remember what degeneracy really, degenerate art really means. And that's it. And there's a little handkerchief I've made of Joseph Stalin. And that's it. Good night. Thank you very much.
It was hilarious and amazing. I wanted to just quickly wrap because I know we're running over on time. We were going to have another Q&A, and unfortunately, I think we have to call it quits because the ICP staff has generously let us go over time, and people are working. So I just wanted to say, and also to say, Brooke, and to everyone that's here, to Mitra, Thomas, thank you, and to all of our speakers, obviously, thank you to all of you for giving such inspiring speeches, interesting, engaging, and I feel like the beginning for conversations to start and continue. I have this piece of paper that ICP will hate me for, but I do want to pass it around in terms of anyone that wants to get involved, to put your email down, to get more information about our next meeting, which will be happening at the end of May. There's not a set, oh yeah, your speakers, hello. There's not a set date, here you go. There's not a set date for it yet, but we would like to see you guys all come back, get involved, meet each other after this. I wish there were more time, but thank you all for participating and coming, and thank you again to ICP and all the speakers, and to Hands Off, and to Brooke. Oh, one last thing, Friday. So in terms of upcoming things, there was the town hall that Katie mentioned, tomorrow, that Katie mentioned. Hands Off Our Revolution is producing 2 performances, one on Friday from 6:30 to 9:30 at Layla Heller Gallery that I will be facilitating for wearable banner making for the upcoming marches that are happening around the climate, et cetera, May Day and whatnot. So please, what? Oh, someone's talking to someone else. So please come. And June 13th at Brick is the next Visual Resistance meeting. So here are some other places to come and engage. We would love to see you out on Friday, Layla Heller. Saturday, there's also a performance happening, June 13th, and tomorrow's town hall. Thank you once again.